One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart, steel, and a spirit unbroken, he rides on two wheels, ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only Rapso can bestow, he takes his step, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry. Metal and mayhem will never die. Rituals report he paves his way. More legend in the making, day by day.
Day by day, mother truckers. Listen, it is Friday freaking morning. Good to see everybody up in the building, man. Appreciate all you legends, man. Always appreciate it, man. We got a big one. We got a lot to discuss. A lot of shit in the media, as you guys can probably see by the title of this. President Trump and Zelensky are to meet. I believe they're going to be doing that today or some. At least it's being announced today. I don't know exactly what time they're supposed to be speaking or anything. Then we have the National Catholic Prayer Breakfast, which I really don't need to cover in the aspect of what else is going on there. JD Vance is going to be speaking, so we're going to listen to what he has to say. And, of course, there's more top stories that are going on. There's some stuff in Israel. There's some stuff there's some protests that are going on that has nothing to do with them, has everything to do with something else, but whatever. We're going to get into that. But before we get into all that crazy shit, man, make sure you guys hit that like button. It's the #1 metric of all of YouTube. Helps out the show immensely, and it's free to do so, by the way. If you guys are brand new to the show, hit that subscribe button because it's also free. Also, please consider becoming a channel member starting only at $2.99 a month, making sure we're not going to break the bank with anybody. And if it is going to break the bank, don't do it. You know what I mean? I always tell everyone that. I don't want to fucking be that guy. Definitely don't need to be that person. Save your money if you need it, for damn sure. But this is a good way to help right here. Follow my Instagram at BallValveTV, where I post everything behind the scenes of not only my lifestyle, but of the show, as well as millennial food time we get down with our bad selves over there. Make sure you guys hit that, as well as the Discord is always linked in the description down below of every live video. So check that out. Last but not least, on the call to actions, man, if you guys would like to help out the show monetarily, listen, because every super chat, super sticker, gifted membership sign up is going to be presented onto the show and shouted out. But if you guys would like to skip that brutal YouTube 30% cut, we have these scrolling for the remainder of the show. And of course, I will shout those out on those platforms as they come in. Yes, much love, honor, respect to all you legends. We got freaking Straight Jacket up in the building. That's damn straight. We got Naomi as well as Evil Rick. Good to see you guys, man. Mount High up in the building as well. Yes, we got our Lieutenant Tobacco. We're always ready on deck, dude. Always. We got Tiffany Lance. Good to see you, as well as Steve Posey, man. Absolutely. Good to see you guys. Screw Plan. Papa Penguin. Shit. All you legends. KP knows the deal. Yes. It's going to be that here in a second. Once I get through this dialogue, this monologue, little tiny monologue. We don't ramble on. I mean, you guys don't see me like ramble the fuck on like some people do. But I will sometimes. And appreciate that, Naomi. Absolutely. Thank you for helping moderate the chat like that and helping throw out all those, Cash Apps, Venmos, PayPal. Thank you, Naomi, for that. Did any of you see Bondi broke her foot Off at the knee in the FBI's ass yesterday. Her letter was glorious. I did not see her letter, but I heard about it. You actually messaged me and I responded. I was like, I heard something about it, but I didn't hear about the actual letter. That is fantastic, Papa. Good to hear about that, because fuck the FBI. Steve Easy, what's up, my man? Good morning to you. Hopefully you're feeling good today and recovering good. We got Brother Dwayne as well as Carney's Ride. Yes, sir. My man right there. Hopefully you're doing fantastic over there in New Mexico, man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's roll it down. Roll it down. Hold on. I'm just trying to catch up with everybody. Yeah, so they did release so from as far as we know, everything regarding the Epstein files was a big flop. It was like 208 pages or whatever of information of stuff that we basically already knew. It was a big flop. So I don't know what's happening like this morning. I honestly, I'm not like caught up to that part. But I want to hear what Papa said here. That's part of what the letter was about. She also called the FBI out saying that they were hiding evidence from her. Wow. That shit is not even surprising at this point. You know what I mean? Definitely. Fucking crazy. Absolutely crazy. And yes, I do co-sign this message, by the way, Carney. Yes, we got an officer, up in the building, and the officer is saying you got to get an officer membership. Absolutely.
Oh shit!
I appreciate that. Yes, sir. And you're all good, by the way. We got freaking Redneck Side, Motorcycle Whips. Use code Insane Wheels, all one word, for 15% off, by the way. Appreciate you, by the way. Kitty, good to see you over there in the UK. Hopefully you're doing fantastic. That was horrible. Some information has been out. Nothing new. Yeah, exactly. Yes. You guys are always just cleaning the house, man. You guys are so busy in that regard. Let's fucking go. Cash Patel better smarten up. What's up, VT? Hopefully you're doing fantastic. And I think Cash Patel is doing a good job so far. What's up, Brother Pitbull over there in the UK, by the way, as well as Brother Glare, 1%er. Appreciate you. War Gorilla, my man. Cowboy up in here as well, man. Good to see you, legends. I gotta thank all you legends for showing up, man. We got Pitbull gifting out a membership, by the way, to one of you guys. Shit. Thank you for that, Pitbull. We all know the officers are going to try to push the club agenda. That is true. That is true. That is, I can't argue with that. I can't argue. What's up, Joseph? Saying good morning, Mr. Ball Breakfast Crew, BNC, and can't forget the haters. Stop the cat.
Stop the cap.
Forgot the stop the cat, bro. They strong arming Pam Bondi through over the documents. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. Dude, all this shit is just politics, bro. Even on this kind of lame shit, it's all just politics. Sadly. What's up, Evil Rick, with the gifted membership, by the way? Thank you for that. Very much appreciate that. Ghost in 1978. What's up, my man? I'm only here to cause trouble and she. Good to see you, Ghost. Hopefully you're doing good, man. Yes, exactly. See, I told you stop the cat, bro. Stop the cat.
Stop the cap.
It was a little emotional damage.
Emotional damage.
Shit. Sadly, you're right. Right. All right. Let's go ahead and get into the fucking madness, ladies and gentlemen. What's up, Imperius? Good to see you, by the way. Hopefully you're doing fantastic and enjoying your Friday morning so far. All right. Let's go ahead and get into a bit of this. Let's go ahead and check it out.
My name is Josh Breslow, and I'm here for the next several hours.
Get into speaking about Trump and Zelensky planning on meeting. So let's go ahead and figure out what's happening.
To bring you all of your top stories and live events from across the country and across the world. Do want to take you out to this live image that we do have right now over the White House as we get into one of the big stories that we are going to be covering today, and that is a trip from Volodymyr Zelensky over to the White House to meet with President Donald Trump. It's the latest in a series of visits from world leaders to Washington, D.C. over the last several days. That includes the French president and just yesterday, as you saw moments ago, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. President Trump has said Zelensky will sign a long-sought minerals deal that Trump described as, quote,
good.
A very big agreement.
Good.
The deal would give the U.S. access to Ukraine's deposits of so-called rare earth minerals that are...
Wow, I did not think that Zelensky was going to do that. I didn't think anywhere close. This is our resources. We're only going to take yours.
used in the aerospace, defense, and nuclear industries. President Trump has said it's a chance for Ukraine to pay back the U.S. for aid that's been given for the war effort under then President Biden. Do want to bring in Rich Rubino.
Imperious, no doubt. I mean, he's pushed into a corner at this point. He has to. Absolutely.
Great friend of the show. He's a political analyst and historian to discuss all of this here. Thank you so much, Rich.
Listen, I'm a political analyst. I'm not a historian. Why am I not on the show? Come on.
As always, for
Fox,
taking
where's
the time
the invite?
to be here with us and help break it all down.
Thank you so much for having me on again, Josh.
Oh, this fucking guy. Now, he's really smart. I got to admit, he's really smart, but his voice is something that, you know, there's certain things about people you just can't look past. His voice is something I just can't look past. And I don't mean to point out something that, you know, there are things that you cannot change, and your voice is one of those. So I don't mean to slag dude, but yeah, it's definitely something that it sidetracks me.
Well, first off, I do want to talk to you overall about the visit here. What can we expect to be discussed?
What's up, Miss Lotus?
Are they going to focus on just that one topic, the war itself, or do other things need to be discussed?
I think they're probably going to talk about the war itself. Obviously, there's going to be a joint press conference, and Donald Trump will take a victory lap for getting the deal done. But I think what they're going to talk about is kind of what's going on in the negotiations. I think that so Ms. Zelensky and I think the country of Ukraine.
Are you serious, by the way, Papa? Russia just accused Ukraine of trying to unalive an Orthodox priest tied to Putin. Wow. That's fucking crazy. Now, I would never take it past Putin to do some shit like that himself and then point the finger. You know, I don't know the situation. And most people probably would hate me for saying that, but I look at shit objectively. And, you know, within regards to like Russia, Ukraine, there's no doubt that Ukraine has fucked up big time. No doubt. That's just the way it is. The whole war reason even started this last one because of Ukraine. So, I mean, I look at things like that as well. But Glare, by the way, coming in with the $5 super chat, by the way. Hey, man, very much appreciate that, kind sir, saying, I think they overpromised and underdelivered and now are covering their ass and going to use this to shrink the FBI, which I'm all for. Yes, sir. So am I, believe it or not. But I think you know where I stand on that kind of shit. But yeah. Yes. What's up, Ron Rowdy? Good to see you. Hopefully you're doing fantastic as well, man. And Briar Wolf, good morning, kind sir.
Felt rather left out that they were not involved in the initial peace talks between the United States and Russia. The current administration has done something that the last administration has not done, and that is legitimizing Russia. They're willing to meet with Vladimir Putin. Joe Biden would not meet with.
And coming from your previous position, Warland, in the government, that's a great thing. You know, you basically saw it from the inside out, you know, and you know as well as anybody that shit needs to be fucking shrunk by like 85%, 90%, if not 100.
Vladimir Putin after the Russian invasion of the Ukraine. So it'll be very interesting to see kind of what terms Donald Trump lays down for a potential peace agreement.
Are we seeing tension at this point between the two leaders? We know that there's been a few comments that have been made recently that have kind of raised some eyebrows. So are we seeing tension between the two, and could we actually see evidence of that tension today?
Yeah, I think we are seeing tensions, but we categorically we're seeing tensions between the leaders. I think that he called Donald Trump called Mr. Zelensky a dictator, and because
a communist dictator,
because there are no elections in the Ukraine. They're currently suspended because of martial law, although that is relatively popular in the Ukraine. But currently, but that's what Donald.
You know what? I have to just say it, just because I have to say it. Defund every 3-letter and 4-letter agency in the United States. Defund all of it. Defund NATO. Defund UN and defund the EU completely. America first.
That's what Donald Trump has said about him. Donald Trump takes a different approach than most leaders. Most presidents are more or less very diplomatic when they talk about foreign leaders, even when that person could potentially be an adversary. Donald Trump tends to initially say things that are negative about somebody, but then once he actually has the meetings, or once there's some sort of a deal to be negotiated, Donald Trump will flaunt and heap praise upon that leader. I think it's interesting. It's almost intermestic, if you will, the combination between domestic policy and foreign policy, and the way he reacts to not only leaders but also leaders of Congress. For example, leaders like Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, he ran bitter campaigns against back in 2016, but then he heaped their praises. And in the case of Ted Cruz, campaigned for him running for a full term in 2018. In the case of Marco Rubio, nominated him for U.S. Secretary of State. So that's kind of vintage Donald Trump, if you will.
What do you make of this minerals deal that is expected to be discussed and possibly?
Yeah, this minerals deal is a humongous ordeal. Like, I'm not actually sure how many of you guys know how important that is. That's a huge, huge ordeal that's happening.
Signed today.
Well, Donald Trump, when he ran, he talked about putting America first. This was kind of vintage, the same platform Pat Buchanan had run on back in 92 and 1996. And Donald Trump basically does not want to get something for nothing. And I think he believes that the Biden administration giving security guarantee, giving money to the Ukraine with nothing coming back is not America first. This is something that I think he believes is America first. There has to be some sort of a quid pro quo. There has to be some way of the United States saying, yes, we'll provide you certain security resources, but in return, you have to provide us something. So it's something that I think President Zelensky can go to President Trump and say, okay, we are now on an equal playing field here. We're giving you something. We're giving you this deal, and in return, you're going to continue to give us aid. So it's kind of the quid pro quo.
I mean, truth is, if we were to continue any sort of funding, we have to get something out of it. Just for checks and balances reasons. Fuck all the politics and like geopolitically what it would affect. Like, just look at it from that stance. Like, we cannot be sending out money to other countries, and then especially when we need the aid, which is all the time. We always need the aid. Whether it's, regards to natural disasters or whatever the case is, where's our aid when we need it? We never get to fucking see that shit, do we? Ever? No. Of course not. Because United States, yes, we're daddy to the world, and we pay like 176 countries per fucking year. If it weren't for the US dollar, the whole fucking world would collapse. No cap.
Is really kind of the Donald Trump dictum, I guess you could say. That's kind of the Donald Trump dictum.
When we talk about what we can expect today, obviously there's a lot of discussion, but we know that just yesterday we saw Keir Starmer, the United Kingdom's prime minister, also the French president, Emmanuel Macron, who was there at the White House. What do you make of all of these European leaders or, other locations leaders that are heading to the White House and meeting one-on-one with President Trump?
They all want to go back to the status quo ante. What do I mean by the status quo ante? The status quo prior to the current status quo of Donald Trump. They want to go back not only to Joe Biden, but basically every president, if you go all the way back from Franklin Roosevelt through Harry Truman through Dwight D. Eisenhower, where they had kind of cooperation, for example, when it comes to Europe.
We can't be doing no booty reduction around here, okay? No booty reduction is allowed for any women, okay?
All supported the idea of the United Nations. They all supported the idea of NATO, for example. Donald Trump is a different tact. He says, for example, that other countries have to spend a certain amount of money.
I warned you, Naomi. I warned everybody. I said, listen, there's just certain things I can't look past. And this one is his voice. But listen, I'm trying to look past it.
A certain percentage of their GDP on defense. That's different. Other presidents have basically kind of ignored that. Donald Trump was even questioned, although yesterday he said that he supports it. But Article 5 of the NATO Charter, which states that once one of the now 32 countries in NATO is invaded by an external force, not an internal force, but an external force, all countries have to come to their aid. He's really questioning that kind of that world order, and I think that the leaders of Europe are trying to convince Donald.
Just what I instantly think of, like if I could only explain it in one word, it would be dweeb. When I hear that kind of voice, that like real, I don't know. I just think dweeb, and that's cool. I'm just saying.
Donald Trump that the best way to preserve order is to go back to where the status quo was prior to Donald Trump, and that's why I think so many leaders are
What's
coming
up,
to the United
Anson? Good
States,
morning.
and they're trying to negotiate with Donald Trump, and they're trying to bring Donald Trump back to where they believe
Yes, Warland.
where they believe the grand design of the world kind of is.
And looking a little bit deeper into that, what do you think Keir Starmer's specific goal was? Do you think that was accomplished based on the news conference that the two did have? We were playing that joint news conference a short time ago here.
But he does. He knows his shit.
Reached?
I don't know. I don't know what the goal was reached or not. I know that when Donald Trump held his joint news conference, there was a lot. They were very jovial to one another. I know that Donald Trump did not criticize the British Prime Minister, which he's done with other leaders. They have a lot in common, actually. They both basically got elected by appealing to blue-collar voters. In the case of the British Prime Minister, his party had been out of power for 14 whole years, and he kind of brought the party to the center. He brought labor.
I just gotta point out. Chad always wins, okay? True. Just got to point it out. Y'all are amazing.
A lot of support with the labor
Hit that like button, everybody.
Donald Trump, very similar. He brought a lot of white, blue-collar voters. They do have a lot in common in terms of their own domestic political situation, but in terms of whether they actually achieved what they both achieved what they wanted to achieve, that's something that I think history will dictate.
Me too, Carney. That'd be nice.
Necessarily privy to information that we don't necessarily know here, but do we know of any other leaders that are heading over to the White House anytime soon?
Yo, brother Lee Lance, good to see you, by the way. Good morning, kind sir.
To speak with President Trump. Is there anything on the agenda?
Not that we know of so far. I think it'll be interesting which foreign leaders do come to visit Donald Trump, which potentially might get a state visit from Donald Trump. Usually that shows the gravitas of a foreign leader if he gives them a state visit.
Wrap it up, homie.
Versus some foreign leaders which do not necessarily get that. But obviously, just about every day there will probably be someone visiting the White House, and there'll probably be an underling or a lower elected official.
All right, Rich Rubino, as always, thank you so much
for
taking the time to join us and help break down all the latest developments here. Anything else you want to add before I let you go?
You did a great job.
Just that I think that the leaders of Europe and the United States had cooperation. If you really go back to the post-war order, going back to all the way to Harry S.
Yes, it's like a combination of the voice and the lisp. It's like a double whammy.
Truman took over back in 1945. They all supported the United Nations. They supported NATO, and they all believe that the United States and Europe were very much partners in this. Donald Trump takes a little bit of a different tact. He talks about America first. He talks about other countries needing to spend more in their GDP. So other foreign leaders, I think, are really trying to figure out, and specifically in Europe, how they're going to deal with Donald Trump. And one thing they have said, some countries, for example, Britain now, are talking about that they will actually increase the amount of money that they spend on their own defenses.
All right, Rich, thank you so much again for taking the time to join us and breaking it all down. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Josh, for having me on again.
Of course. And I do want to take you out to this.
Yes, you should definitely go live on the bike later. Absolutely. All right, so we've got the schedule. Remember, I told you guys I didn't know what the schedule is going to be for the whole meeting of Zelensky and Trump. So this is what they're putting out here. 11 a.m. Eastern, which was 24 minutes ago. Zelensky arrives at the White House. At 11:05, President Trump takes part in bilateral meeting with Zelensky. And then 1 p.m., so that's all private. 1 p.m. Eastern, joint news conference with President Trump and Zelensky. So that will be noon my time. So it's only 10:25 now. We've got about an hour and 35 minutes until that whole ordeal starts. But just thought that I'd let you guys know. So just in case you guys are interested, you guys will be able to go watch that.
Look here at what we can expect today as of right now. And it's important to note that these times are always kind of fluid as the situation.
That is true. They can absolutely fluctuate by a long shot sometimes, dude. Okay, so the Vatican comes up with an update. I'm sure the Vatican and the AP are working together to get out the news on this because it's nonstop. Quote, the Pope is now resting at the hospital. So yeah, his ordeal is that he's getting slightly better each and every day, but hopefully it's enough to be able to save him. So we're going to move into protests that turn violent outside of Greek parliament. So let's go ahead and check out why and what is happening here, because I actually don't know what is happening.
Again. Right now, I do want to take you out to some breaking news that we are following, as this image is just coming in live from outside the Greek parliament. Take a look at your screen. You can see a mess right now and a lot of law enforcement clashing there with protesters. Now, we are told that thousands upon thousands of people did attend this protest outside the Greek parliament, marking the second anniversary of Greece's worst rail disaster. 57 people killed in that head-on collision between a freight train and a passenger train that had accidentally been put on the same track. This was back in February of 2023. The official handling of the disaster has been criticized.
Look at all those fuckers on the top right. I mean, they're just pushing them out. I mean, it is packed up here on the top. Shit.
Over delays in the inquiry and allegations of a cover-up that the government did strongly deny. Some have alleged
That's right, everybody. Listen to Naomi. She says, hit the like button. Yes, absolutely. And she also says, if you send a dono, Mike may play with his pussy on camera, by the way. He named it Lucy. PayPal. Yeah, and there's all of that right there as well. PayPal, Cash App, Venmo. I'm good with all of it. I'm good with all of it. Appreciate you. Hit that like.
The train had been carrying dangerous chemicals that ignited, producing a very intense fire that killed many of the victims. Now, a long-awaited report was released Thursday, blaming human error, outdated infrastructure, and major systematic failure. A general strike also halted or disrupted flights, ferries, public services, and commercial activity. Again, we are getting a wide look here, a wide view outside Greek parliament as this protest has turned violent. We're seeing the protesters.
Damn, there's more people over there on the right side too. Holy fuck. Yeah, there were thousands. Holy shit. Did you see how they pan that camera? So the top, look, watch the camera right now. This is crazy. All these people, and then it goes all the way down to the right.
As this protest has turned violent,
all the way over
we're
here.
Seeing the protesters clashing with law enforcement. And
this looks like a whole bunch of ants. Totally looks like a whole bunch of ants.
You can see just how many people are out there at this hour. Really a mess. You can see debris all over the place. And moments ago, that clash turned very violent. We're going to keep an update on all of this and let you know if there are any arrests, any injuries, anything of that nature. But
there's going to be plenty of arrests by the end of this. Oh, shit. It goes down the right side of this shit, too. Look over here on the right. There's not like another fucking street just packed full of people. Damn.
Large crowd gathered there outside the Greek parliament. Do want to head to our first 2-minute commercial break.
I didn't even hear what they're protesting about. Like, maybe I was paying too much attention to the chat. So if anybody in the chat caught it, let me know what the fuck they're even protesting about. I didn't even hear it.
Right now, it's 6:13 on the East Coast and 3:13
and I'm not going back to
on the
listen.
West Coast. We'll be right back with more live, raw, and unfiltered coverage.
All right, we're going to go ahead and skip through. There's a fire going on right here. Just a random fire going on in the street, not lit up. Nothing else is on fire. Oh, is there fire extinguishers going off now? Oh, shit. All right, let's go ahead and back this up a little bit. I can't tell what it was.
And I do want to take you back out.
Could be the police, throwing out some fucking gas and shit. You never know.
This live image that we do have coming in out of Greece as we follow this breaking news. Take a look at your screen and you can see some smoke there in the distance, as well as thousands upon thousands of
No, not feet pictures, foot pictures. Okay, foot pictures, singular, not plural. Okay.
people who are there for this protest, which has now taken a violent turn. We have seen
Welcome back,
clashes
Kitty.
between protesters as well as law
Exactly,
enforcement there.
Blair.
I do want you to take a good look at your screen as I go over kind of some of the basics of what we know about this protest in general and what folks are trying to get across as far as a message. This is a protest outside of the Greek parliament, and it's marking the second anniversary of Greece's worst rail disaster ever. 57 people killed in that head-on collision between a freight train and a passenger train that accidentally were put on the same track. All of this back in February of 2023. The official handling of the disaster has been criticized by a lot of folks there in Greece, with public anger over delays in the inquiry and allegations of a cover-up that the government...
Now we hear what it is.
Public anger over delays in the inquiry and allegations of a cover-up that the government does strongly deny. Some have alleged the freight train had been carrying dangerous chemicals.
You guys just see that?
Ignited.
You guys see that shit just light up? Something exploded and just lit up right there. The fuck was that?
Delays in the inquiry and allegations of a cover-up that the government does strongly deny. Some have alleged the freight train had been carrying dangerous
incendiary grenade or something like that.
Chemicals that ignited, producing an intense fire that killed many of the victims. And as you can see, there's fire out there right now as some of those protesters are throwing objects. Not clear if they're Molotov cocktails or exactly what is going on there.
No, that motherfucker exploded like an incendiary fucking grenade.
But we are going to keep an eye on the situation from this aerial view that is provided by the Associated Press. We also know that a long-awaited report was released just yesterday on the incident, blaming human error, outdated infrastructure, and major systematic failure. A general strike also halted or disrupted flights, ferries, public services, and commercial activity. It looks like objects are being thrown by the protesters.
Oh, wow. So that's what the quote-unquote cover-up is, Papa? Wow. Saying they're protesting over a train collision from 2 years ago that killed 50-ish people. They blame the government for failing railway infrastructure. Dang it. Dang it. That's crazy.
Enforcement there on the ground outside of the Greek parliament. Not quite clear if that's maybe just some of the debris also that is flying around, but you can see just how much debris is there on the ground as all of this is developing here. We're going to keep you updated here as we get more information, but definitely a dramatic scene turning violent outside of the Greek parliament as that protest marks 2 years since the deadliest rail disaster in Greek history. We are going to head to a quick 2-minute commercial break now.
No, we're not.
6:20.
No, we're not. We're not fucking. No. We get to skip right through this bullshit. Okay, so there was an update on ICE. Arkansas officials, 219 illegal immigrants were arrested. So they have a little press conference about it. Nothing that we don't already know about. If you're illegal, get the fuck out of our country. We're gonna force that to happen. Virginia police can now work with ICE, is being reported. That means that they have been sworn in or whatever as the jurisdiction of federal officers or whatever. So Virginia police can now work with ICE. That's fantastic.
Police also said he had a history.
Let's go ahead and fast forward a little bit here.
Is probing the death.
Oh, all right. So remember we were talking about Gene Hackman yesterday. I told you guys that most likely we're going to get some updates, as I always report like breaking news, right? And people are like, hey, what happened? Well, a lot of the times on breaking news, we're not getting the whole story. And usually we have to wait until new details arise, right? And so it looks like it has. So we're going to go ahead and check that out real quick and figure out what happened. At least we know kind of what happened. Him, his wife, and his dog all died in his house in New Mexico. unfortunately, which is terrible. Died at 95. I'm not really sure how old she was, but let's go ahead and figure out what they are saying about this ordeal. Because I am definitely interested to hear like what if anything came out.
Check it out.
Romania's prosecutors say that if some
So much. We'll follow that story and keep you posted.
Sorry.
We do have new details here as the entertainment industry is mourning the loss of an all-time great. Oscar-winning actor Gene Hackman was found dead at his New Mexico home along with his wife and dog. Now, there are questions about the circumstances overall. Jonathan Hunt over in L.A. with the latest.
Because I thought it was too violent and I didn't know what to do with it. I really...
There was no immediate sign of foul play. Haven't ruled that out yet.
Investigators are probing the deaths of 95-year-old Gene Hackman and his 65-year-old wife, Betsy Arakawa.
Damn, she was 65 and he was 95. Good on him. Damn, 30-year difference.
After sheriff's deputies reported the scene was, quote, suspicious.
Now, I understand him passing at 95. I get that. But now it's suspicious when you have your 65-year-old wife also die with you in the house same time, as well as the fucking family dog.
Enough in nature to
Something's
require
wrong.
a thorough search and investigation. The bodies were discovered by workers at the property who called 911.
I think we just found one deceased person inside a house.
Police say Hackman was found in a mudroom, his wife in a bathroom, next to a space heater and close to an open prescription bottle. Pills scattered on a countertop near Arakawa. One of the couple's
What's up, Lawrence? Good to see you, by the way. Good morning.
dogs was also dead in that same bathroom. There were no obvious wounds on the bodies, but the sheriff's department search warrant obtained by Fox says the door to the home was unlocked and open, and there was no sign of carbon monoxide or gas poisoning.
All right, Popeye's here. Get your hands on your heads. Get off the bar and get on the wall.
Hackman won his first Oscar for his 1971 portrayal of a narcotics cop in The French Connection. He once described himself as being like your everyday
Man, that's great to hear, Cowboy. I mean, me and him probably don't have a leg to stand on type of shit, but hey, I very much appreciate you. Very, very, I love that kind of shit, So thank you for letting me know.
worker. A mine worker who just happened to star in movies like Bonnie and Clyde, Superman, Unforgiven, and The Royal Tenenbaums.
30 years ago, I was knifed in a bazaar in Calcutta.
The legendary director Francis Ford Coppola paid tribute to Hackman on Instagram, calling him, quote, a great actor, inspiring and magnificent in his work and complexity. Hackman's family issued a statement saying the actor was loved and admired by millions around the world, but, quote, to us, he was always just dad and grandpa.
Okay, well, I want to hear the developing. I know all of these things, and that's great that you guys are doing a little tribute, a little lead up to what that's great. But I want to hear the developing news.
In Los Angeles, Jonathan Hunt.
Now over Hartsfield-Jackson Internet Trump roller.
Was that it? Oh my God, that was the only update we had on that? Oh my God, I thought we were going to actually have some fucking details here. All right, then they're going to be talking about Israel in here. We're going to skip through that. We already know Zelensky is going to be having this meeting with Trump today. It's still planned for 1 p.m. Eastern, which is noon my time. So now we're going to move on into the prayer breakfast. As you guys see in the title here, I also put in the National Catholic Prayer Breakfast because they're having a big kind of conference, if you will. And JD Vance is going to go ahead and speak at it. So we're going to go ahead and listen to what he's got to say on this whole ordeal. It takes him a minute to come out because there's a lot of fucking people that are, talking before even he is. So here we go. Of course, as you guys would know, like how stage presence usually works. Usually you have, as the headliner, you have some, you have some other acts that come out before you and shit like that, All right. See what he says. Man, fuck the music, man.
Thank you all. Thank you. Please take a seat. And I will say
We can actually hear you this time. This is fantastic.
that even though I, in my private sector days, was a technology investor in Silicon Valley, I haven't quite.
Yo, the cameraman took a little too many fucking Adderalls. You over there fucking shaking the shit out of the camera and damn.
Figured out how to work my government computer yet. So 30 days in, I'm going to have to wing this a little bit because I thought about what
Man, there's no better way to have a speech than to wing it.
I was going to say on the morning over here. And that, of course, makes all the communications staff that are sitting backstage
Welcome back,
extremely
Beezer.
nervous because they have no idea what I'm going to say. And before I went on, I talked to Luke, who's one of my main communications guys. And I said, Luke, this is all off the record, right? No one's going to say
Yo, Rabbit
or
of
know
Chaos.
what I
Good to
said
see you,
today.
by
So
the
I
way.
can just say whatever I want. And I'm sure that none of you will leak it to Axios, and none of our friends in the media back there will stream it live. So
Shit.
let me, just offer a few notes of appreciation. First off, to Maureen Ferguson, who's become a dear friend of mine, and I know a great leader in this community. She and her husband, Mike, have been
One of 3 dogs, Lisa Lay. I had no idea. Wow.
and
That is
better
sad.
and kinder to me than I deserve. And my entire family has been the beneficiary of it, especially in finding places to send my kids to school at the very last minute, because I'm a bit of a procrastinator.
Wow.
And Maureen and Mike have been very helpful in helping us navigate the DC school environment for our young children.
Hell yeah, Brother Lee. Always appreciate you. Be safe out there and always appreciate you. Thank you for everything.
And so we're grateful
See you
to
in a bit.
them. I want to give a shout out and a note of appreciation to Congressman Chris Smith from the great state of New Jersey, who I know received the great award. And we're grateful to his leadership and grateful for his friendship. And he is a very good guy. So, Chris, I assume you're out there somewhere, though I can't see you. But congratulations, man. We're proud of you. And I'm proud to be here with you. I want to thank Mark Randall, who, of course, has hosted an incredible breakfast for now. This is the 20th year, I believe, of the National Catholic Prayer Breakfast, and it seems like we're doing pretty good here with the National Catholic Prayer Breakfast. And of course, this breakfast holds a very special place in my heart. As Maureen mentioned, I came here last year as a very young senator, not knowing how much my life would change. And I'm thankful to God, but also thankful to the friendship of the people in this room for helping us get there, because I think that we have turned a new page in Washington, D.C., and we are going to take advantage of the opportunity that God has given us. So I want to say a couple of words just about Trump administration policy, because while you're certainly not always going to agree with everything that we do in President Trump's administration, I feel
No, the one that they were showing was the Delta plane upside down in Canada. That's what they were showing. That's what you briefly saw in the media while I was skipping ahead. Yeah, they were just probably either new advances on it, some new information came out, something like that.
very confident.
But it was only there for like 0.2 seconds. So I don't think they had anything really developing.
In saying that between protecting the rights of pro-life protesters, between ensuring that we have an opportunity to protect the rights of the unborn in the first place, and importantly,
so they've labeled those deaths suspicious, Kitty. I'm not really sure what all that entails, but they're just labeling it suspicious.
protecting the religious liberty of all people, but in particular Catholics, I think that we can say that President Trump, though not a Catholic himself, has been an incredibly good president for Catholics in the United States of America. Now, we know, of course, the last administration liked to throw people in jail for silently praying outside of pro-life clinics. We know that they like to harass pro-life fathers of 7, very often Catholic fathers, for participating in the pro-life movement. And we know that the last administration wanted to protect taxpayer-funded abortion right up into the moment of birth. And on every single one of those issues, in 30 short days, Donald J. Trump has gone in the exact opposite direction. And I am thankful for that. And I'm sure that every single person in this room is thankful for that as well.
Very true, Anson. Very, very, very true. I even made a whole ass video critiquing Trump's ordeal regarding Gaza, for instance. Like, that's something I totally do not believe that we should be doing at all. I think that is not in the best interest of Americans. Now, as a globalist, maybe, but I'm no fucking globalist. I'm an American. I only care about Americans.
But I actually want to talk about a couple of other things. In particular, one of the most important parts of President Trump's policy, and where I think President Trump's policy is most in accord with Christian social teaching and with the Catholic faith, is that more than any president of my lifetime, President Trump has pursued a path of peace. And we very often, I think, ignore the way in which our foreign policy is either an instrument or an impediment to people all over the world being able to practice their faith. And we know, and as of course I learned at this breakfast last year.
Hold on. Speaking of breakfast that JD Vance just said, bees are gifting out 5 fucking memberships to the Breakfast Club right there, man. Thank you so fucking much. Cheers to you, kind sir. Very much appreciate that. And helping out not only the channel, but as well as the Breakfast Club, man. Big thank you to you.
Here, I believe there were some Nigerian priests who were being persecuted and were trying to protect their flock despite incredible persecution. We know that some of the biggest groups that are persecuted all over the world today are Christians. And the Trump administration promises you that whether it's here at home with our own citizens or all over the world, we will be the biggest defenders of religious liberty and the rights of conscience. And I think those policies will fall to the benefit of Catholics in particular.
Nope, Kitty, she's sleeping right now. She's actually sleeping on her blanket right over here to my left. So she's knocked out right now.
All over the world.
We were up late last night.
But I would say, my friends, that it's not enough simply to protect the rights of conscience, to pursue funding opportunities and grant-making opportunities that protect the rights of people to engage in religious conscience. We also have to remember that oftentimes the biggest impediments to religious liberty have not come through malice from the United States government, but have actually come through carelessness. And one of the things that I have to be honest, that I am most ashamed about, is that in the United States of America, sometimes it is our foreign misadventures that lead to the eradication of historical Christian communities all
Yo, Lappy, good morning to you as well. Good to see you, my man.
Over the world. And so when President Trump talks about the need to bring peace, whether it's in Russia and Ukraine, whether it's in the Middle East, we of course have to recognize that as a policy oriented towards saving lives and carrying out one of Christ's most important commandments. But I think we also must recognize it as an effort to protect the religious liberty of Christians. Because over the past...
I was watching a good stream. How about that?
40 years, it has often been historical Christian communities who bear the brunt of failed American.
What's up, Wild Card? By the way, good morning to you as well as, listen, I wanted to say hi to Evil Rick earlier as well. Hopefully I did, but always appreciate my man being in here.
Policy, and that is, in my view, perhaps the most important way in which Donald...
Yo, VT, make sure you drive safe, don't worry about no chat while you're driving. Appreciate
Trump has been a defender of Christian rights all over the world, is he has a foreign policy that is oriented towards peace. We have done it already so much in the past 30 days, and I'm proud that we will work for peace all over the world in the remaining 4 years of President Trump's term. And I think that's an important thing. Now, of course, we're not always going to agree, and I'm sure that there are people in this room who agree.
Ghost, it's very true. It's very true. This cat is like Hamas up in this bitch. She likes to get terroristic in this house. It's true.
Who agree or disagree with some of our views on foreign policy, on any number of issues. The one thing that I will promise you is that you're always going to have an open door with me and with the president. I think that you've already seen that. And if you haven't, please come and bring your concerns. And some of you have already brought many concerns to me over the last 30 days, but also your attaboys, because I think that part of being a good presidential administration for people of faith all over the United States, part of it is listening to people of faith when they have concerns.
True.
And I think that it's important, and I'll make this commitment to you in front of God and in front of all those television cameras back there, that we will always listen to people of faith and people of conscience.
I will always believe in left-handed tobacco. That's me right there. Hey, it's fantastic. All right.
In the United States of America, you have an open door to the Trump administration, even and especially maybe when you disagree with us. So please use that opportunity, communicate with us when we get things right, but also when we get things wrong.
Yo, fucking bees are coming and dropping another 5 for the homies right here. Boom. Yo, my man. Now that is 10, homie. Man, thank you so much. Not only to me, man, but to everyone else that are getting them. They appreciate it too, man. So thank you very, very much for that. Damn it, dude.
And that is my solemn obligation, but also my
holy fuck, that is true, Hardwire. Absolutely.
request. Because of course, as I've learned with during the campaign, of course, I got Secret Service protection, and now it's bumped up now that I'm the Vice President of the United States. I live in a bubble, ladies and gentlemen. I live in a roaming bubble, and wherever I go, I'm surrounded by armed.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't run 2028. I'll still be too young. Hold on, I fucked up my. All right. Yeah, I'll still be too young in 2028 to run. But I am running in 2026 for Alabama, GOP House of Representatives here, blah, blah, blah. But I can't run for president in 2028 because I still won't be fucking old enough. Ain't that a motherfucking bitch?
Emotional damage.
Whatever, dude.
Agents, the only way to keep me honest and the only way to know what is actually affecting the real lives of people all over our country is for you to talk to us.
There we go.
And so please consider that open door very much an invitation, but also a request. And I will say that, I believe, Maureen, and maybe this is wrong, that I'm the first Catholic convert to ever be Vice President of the United States. And I appreciate that.
Naomi.
Stop the cap.
All right, back to this.
I appreciate you guys clapping, because it turns out there's some people on the internet who don't like Catholic converts. And in fact, there are some Catholics who appear not to like Catholic converts. I've learned that the hard way, but of course, the gross majority of my brothers and sisters.
No, that means to stick around and continue giving us your thoughts, Charles. That's what that means.
In Christ have been incredibly welcoming and incredibly charitable, and for that I'm grateful. And I wanted to just reflect on that, on being a Catholic in particular.
Yeah, you'll be all bummed out when this one-legged motherfucker outbeats you in a fucking race.
A Catholic convert in public life, in the hopes that maybe it would provide some wisdom or some guidance, or maybe just some interesting stories for those of you who are enjoying your breakfast. And one of the things that I try to remind myself of as a convert is that there's a lot I don't know. When I was a kid, we used to call new converts to the faith baby Christians.
Yeah, we don't talk about Roberto over here. Robert, he is a grade A cocksucker. Okay.
And I recognize very much that I am
a
baby Catholic, that there are things about the faith that I don't know. And so I try to be humble as best I can when I talk about the faith and publicly, because of course I'm not always going to get it right. And I don't want my inadequacies in describing our faith to fall back on the faith itself. And so if you ever hear me pontificating about the Catholic faith,
it's funny because it's so ironic that if you felt how heavy my leg is, for real, not my first one. This one's actually really light. The one that I always show, this was my first permanent leg, by the way. And it was good, but it was a starter. You know what I mean? Like they don't really trust to just give you $100,000 leg out the get-go. Like, you guys got to understand that, believe it or not, 60% of amputees don't wear prosthetics because it's too painful to them. So for the insurance company to dole out huge amount of money for these things, they kind of almost do it like how like you have to earn their trust and show that you're actually going to use it. So this was my first one, which was cool, but this one's super light, super fucking light. The other leg, holy fuck, that thing is heavy, but it is the nicest leg. I mean, that fucking, I can guarantee you that leg by itself probably is worth more than some houses. You know what I mean? Just being honest. And they're fantastic, but it is heavy. It is heavy. Now, if I wanted to run, I wouldn't use that leg, to be real. I mean, I could. But yeah, fuck running anyways. I hated running before. I hated running with 2 meat legs.
Oh shit! Please recognize it comes from a place
Motherfuckers don't run from nothing.
Deep belief, but it also comes from a place of not always knowing everything all the time. And, you know, I say that, of course, I don't try to comment on every single Catholic issue. I try not to get involved in the civil wars between Dominicans and Jesuits and conservative Catholics and progressive Catholics.
True, Beezer.
But as Michael Corleone said in The Godfather, sometimes they pull me back in. Sometimes I can't help. I can't help but spout off. I am a politician after all, ladies and gentlemen.
See, this is exactly why I'm that guy that takes pictures of what he voted for. See, I actually have a track record that you can actually see. Yes, sir. Even in California. Of course, in California, I was the outcast. I was the root of all evil. That crazy, Republican / conservative. Yeah, in California, you're not loved like that at least during that time. Now, lately, during this latest election, I think it's been a lot more like acceptable to become a little bit on the red side on California, even though it's still probably hard. But me during that time, that was totally opposition. I was the op. They fucking hated me there, dude.
The thing that I have tried, I've tried to remind people of, and the thing that I try to remind myself of, is that what attracted me to the Christian faith and what attracted me to this church in particular is the recognition that grace is not something that happens instantaneously. It's something that God works in us over a long period of time, sometimes many years and sometimes many decades. I think that when I was a kid, my assumption is that grace—
Come on, you're not supposed to beat yourself, stupid. I know.
Is something where the Holy Spirit would come in and it would solve—
What's up, Brother Code? Good to see you, by the way. Hopefully you're doing fantastic and also having a blessed day so far.
Of all of our problems.
Happy Friday to everybody. Hit that like button.
I learned the hard way as a Catholic, in part by following the sacramental life as best as I could, that grace is very much a process, that God works in us over time. He makes us closer to him and makes us better people in the process. And so when I first became a Catholic, I would probably go to confession every other week because I would fail to go to mass every other week. And, things would come up. You'd have business trips. You'd have, the kids would get sick. And I just remember that this process of thinking, okay, if I don't go to church this week, I'm going to have to go and talk to some stranger about everything that I did bad the last 2 weeks. And that process worked in me a much better discipline.
That's fair. That's fair, Steve. I get down with that. I respect that.
Discipline, a much better prayerful life. And, I'm batting probably like 95% of Sundays now that I actually go to mass. And so, this is, I think, one of the geniuses. Thank you.
Oh, they're stoked to hear that. I go to mass. Oh. Okay.
I think this is one of the geniuses of our faith, is that it teaches us through repetition in some ways, and it forms us through a process, of course, that is, I think, at the heart of the mystery of faith, that somehow by practicing the sacraments,
there it is,
imperfectly, as I certainly do, God transforms us. And while I am as imperfect a Christian as any person in this room, I really do feel that God is transforming me every single day. And that's one of the great blessings of our faith and one of the great blessings of following the sacraments as I try to do. And so thank you all for welcoming a convert into your ranks, because
thank you, Brother Code.
I certainly benefit from it, and my family does too. You know, the second thing that I take from my Catholic faith is a recognition that the deepest and most important things are not material. They're not GDP. They're not the numbers that we see in the stock market. The real measure of health in a society is the safety and stability and the health of our families and of our people. We are in the business, of course.
I would say our country as a whole, yeah.
We're in the business of President Trump's administration of producing prosperity, but that prosperity is a means to an end. And that end is the flourishing, hopefully, of the life of every single citizen in the United States of America. That's why we care about these things. And, you know, I often remind myself that, you know, there have been times in the past where, you know, the GDP numbers were maybe moving in the right direction, where the stock market was moving in the right direction, but the United States of America was losing life expectancy. I think that what the Catholic Church calls me to do is to say that if the stock market's doing okay, but people are literally dying and losing years off of their life, then we have to do better as a country. Catholicism, Christianity at its root, I think, teaches our public officials to care about the deep things, the important things, the protection of the unborn, the flourishing of our children, and the health and the sanctity of our marriage.
I do absolutely agree with that aspect. Yes, I do agree.
And yes, we care about prosperity, but we care about prosperity so that we can promote the common good of every citizen in the United States of America.
Mm-hmm. That was well said.
And when I think about the deep things, the things that really matter.
And I don't even think this is much longer. This is like 4 minutes longer. You know what I mean? Not even bad.
There was something really amazing that happened to me in November of 2024. All my friends were there. All my family was there. We were gathered together in a great moment of celebration. And of course, I'm talking about when my 7-year-old chose to be baptized into the Christian faith. And Ewan is at school right now, so he won't see this, but as amazing as it was to win the election, of course, in November of 2024, and as amazing as it was to know that President Trump would become president.
Yo, Beezer, for the 15 fucking gifted members total so far. Dude, you are the fucking man. On fire. Homie hit a scratch off and was like, God damn, I just hit for like 20 grand. That's what happened here. Yeah, I feel it. I feel it. Hey, Beezer, my man, thank you so much for that, kind sir.
Again,
thank you immensely.
To accomplish so many good things.
We can still do this shit.
The thing that I was most excited about in November of 2024 is that the week after we won the election, my son chose to be baptized in the Christian faith. Now, here's the basic idea, and for those of you,
what's up, Phil?
You all,
good morning.
Are cradle Catholics, I assume, and typically we do water baptism of infants in the Catholic Church very, very early on. But as many of you know, I am part of an interfaith marriage. My wife, though she comes to church with us almost every single Sunday, she is not Catholic herself. And so the bargain that we have struck is that we will raise our kids Catholic, but we will let them choose the moment that they want to ultimately become baptized. And if that's terrible sacrilege, blame the Dominicans, because they're the ones who came up with this scheme.
Shit. Oh, shit. Just...
Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
That shit was funny as fuck. I gotta hear that shit again.
Choose the moment that they want to ultimately become baptized. And if that's terrible sacrilege, blame the Dominicans, because they're the ones who came up with this scheme.
With the scheme? Oh, shit.
My 7-year-old elected to become baptized, and it was the proudest moment maybe that I've ever had as a father.
Hey, we got brother Steve Easy making an exit. Kind sir, hopefully you have a wonderful rest of your day. Enjoy your Friday and your weekend as well. We'll see you for members only tomorrow morning. Yes, sir. And all of you guys, by the way, that's a good thing for me to say right now. Beezer, since he's gifted out a whole bunch of memberships, if you guys are just getting those memberships or have never had one, listen, 10 a.m. every Saturday morning, okay? 10 a.m. CST every Saturday morning. We have our members only live stream only for you guys in the Breakfast Club, where we get to be quite a bit uncensored over there, man. Yeah, it's true. Very true.
And he took it very seriously. And he wanted to know, what are the right things to say, Dad? What do I need to do? What does this mean? Why is this important? And it was an amazing thing for me to see my 7-year-old working through these things himself. And when I talk about the deep things, the important things, that's what I'm talking about. Of course, we care about our economic indicators. And of course, we care about the wages of our citizens. We care about those things because when our people are doing better, they can have the kinds of moments that promote the kind of flourishing that all of us believe is the very core of a good human life. And that, of course, in my case, was watching my little 7-year-old son become baptized. And so, while again, I will never be perfect.
Yeah, you know what? Frank, JD is about to finish speaking. He's only got like a minute left. Let me go ahead and see who's live right now, and I'll set up a redirect, and I'll let you guys know who it is.
I will always try to remind myself that the goal
Hit
of
that
our
like
public
button.
policy is to promote the common good, and I will fight for that every single day that I am a public official. And that brings me to the final observation I'd like to make as a Christian, a Catholic convert in public life, is that, you know, sometimes the bishops don't like what I say.
That is true, huh?
And I'm sure, by the way, sometimes they're right and sometimes they're wrong. My goal is not to litigate when I'm right and when they're wrong or vice versa. My goal is to maybe articulate the way that I think about being a Christian in public life when you also have religious leaders in public life who have a spiritual duty to speak on the issues of the day. And the way that I try to think about it is the Catholic Church is a kind of technology. It's a technology that was developed 2,000 years ago, and it's coming into contact with a technology that's about 10 years old, 20 years old, and that's, of course, social media. And what I try to remind myself of is that the clergy are important spiritual leaders.
Yes, Kitty. We're doing the bum rush. I can't believe Black Dragon called it that. That shit is something I'm going to use that term forever for rating. Did we get bum rushed over here? Oh, shit's so funny.
Sometimes hear people say, well, we'll let, the clergy talk about matters of the church, but we can ignore them when it comes to matters of public policy.
Be good out there, Brother Glare.
I think that's the wrong way to look at it. That's certainly not the right way to look at it for me. But what I try to remind myself of is that we are not called as Christians to obsess over every social media controversy that implicates the Catholic Church, whether it involves a clergy or a bishop or the Holy Father himself. I think that we could frankly take a page out of the books of our grandparents who respected our clergy, who looked to them for guidance, but didn't obsess and fight over every single word that came out of their mouth and entered social media. I don't think that's good. And I'm not, again, counseling all of you, but I don't think it's good for us as Christians to constantly fight with one another over every single controversy in the church. Sometimes we should let this stuff play out a little bit and try to live our faith as best we can under the dictates of our faith and under the dictates of our spiritual leaders, but not hold them to the standards of social media influencers because they're not. And I think...
You just said some shit.
And that brings me, of course, to the last point that I want to make, which is that, as you've probably seen publicly, the Holy Father, Pope Francis, has criticized some of our policies when it comes to
he sure fucking did.
immigration. Again, my goal here is not.
Sorry, but the truth is, just like when you have these social media personnel that come out and don't know what they're talking about, let's say about the church. Well, what the fuck does the Pope know about that's over there in Rome, right? What does he know about American politics? Why are you speaking on American politics? Stay to what you know. Don't butt into our shit. Just like how these social media influencers should not be butting into, other people. But that's just the way it fucking rolls, though. That is just the way it rolls. You get people like that. There's nothing you can do to stop that, I guess.
Not to litigate with him or any other clergy member about who's right and who's wrong. You obviously know my views, and I will speak to them consistently because I think that I have to do it because it serves the best interest of the American people. What I want to do instead is remind, and I talk to a lot of conservative Catholics, and I talk to progressive Catholics too, and I think that sometimes a lot of conservative.
Charles, you probably didn't even drink what I drank last night, and I barely got lit. So I don't want to hear that shit, homie. Come on, I can almost guarantee you I drank more than you did.
Catholics are too preoccupied
and you would never know
with their political criticisms of a particular clergy member or the leader of the Catholic Church. And of course, I'm not telling you that you're wrong because sometimes I even agree with you. I think that what I would say is that it's not in the best interest of any of us, again, to treat the religious leaders of our faith as just another social media influencer. And I think, frankly, that goes in both ways. If I can be so bold, I think it's incumbent upon our religious leaders to recognize that in the era of social media, people will hang on every single word that they utter, even if that wasn't their intention, and even if a given declaration wasn't meant
right or out of context or
for consumption in the social media age. But every day since I heard of Pope Francis's illness, I say a prayer for the Holy Father because while, yes, I was certainly surprised when he criticized our immigration policy in the way that he has. I also know that the Pope, I believe that the Pope is fundamentally a person who cares about the flock of Christians under his leadership.
I believe that.
And he's the man. And he's a man who cares about.
Hey, yes, sir. Papa Penguin, you be safe out there as well, my man. Enjoy your Friday, the rest of your Friday. We'll see you tomorrow.
The spiritual direction of the faith. And I say this because every day, me and my children have said a prayer for the Holy Father. And we pray for his health and we pray for his comfort as he deals with what appears to be a pretty serious health crisis. And while, yes, some of our media and some of our social media influencers and even some of us fellow Catholics, I think try to bring.
You gotta love it. Charles, you can do anything you want, homie. We all love you. We're all just playing with you.
The Holy Father into every culture war battle in American politics. I will always remember the Holy Father. Whether he makes its way through this illness, and I certainly hope that he does, I will always remember the Holy Father in March of 2020, at a time of incredible stress for really the entire world. Remember, that was the height of the COVID pandemic. None of us knew how bad it was. We heard reports
Brother KP,
from
you
Italy
as well,
of
dude.
people dying in mass on ventilators.
Much love.
And personally, I had just a few weeks earlier welcomed our second child into the world. And so when the COVID pandemic happened, I had a 3-week-old baby at home, and I went to Dick's Sporting Goods and I bought 900 rounds of ammunition. And then I went to Walmart and I bought 2 bags of rice. And I sat at home with my bags of rice and my 900 rounds of ammunition.
Oh shit! I guess I didn't realize maybe the timeline thing had fucked up when I looked last, but we still have 5 more minutes. I'm sorry, guys. I thought he was ending that whole ordeal about right now. So, anyways, we got about 5 more minutes of it.
And said, "All right, we're just going to wait this thing out." And into that void, when a lot of people didn't know how bad it was, and of course, thankfully, the pandemic was not as bad as the very worst predictions. It was quite bad, but not as bad as the very worst predictions. I think all of us can remember that moment of the Holy Father standing in an empty St.
Yes, make sure to hit that like button for the Holy Father he just said right there. Boom. Yes, hit the like button. Always appreciate all of your guys' support in that way, man. That is probably the best way you can support for free is just hitting that like button, man.
Peter's Square, holding the Eucharist above his head.
Me too, Dwayne.
And
Me too.
giving a sermon that I returned to.
But I just feel bad when I tell people, hey, it's going to be this long and then it's longer. Then that's the part I feel bad about. I actually enjoy this. All right.
To consistently, because it was incredibly meaningful to me at the time, and it remains meaningful today. And so if you'll forgive me, I hope that you'll be okay with me reading just an excerpt of the homily that Pope Francis gave. When evening had come, which of course is from Mark chapter 4, verse 35, the gospel passage we have heard begins like this. For weeks now, it has been evening. Thick darkness has gathered over our squares, our streets, and our cities. It has taken over our lives, filling everything with a deafening silence and a distressing void that stops everything as it passes by. We feel it in the air. We notice it in people's gestures. Their glances give them away. We find ourselves afraid and lost. Like the disciples in the gospel, we were caught off guard by an unexpected, turbulent storm. We have realized that we are on the same boat, all of us fragile and disoriented, but at the same time important and needed. All of us called to row together, each of us in need of comforting the other. On this boat are all of us, just like those disciples who spoke anxiously with one voice, saying we are perishing. So we too have realized that we cannot go on thinking of ourselves, but only together can we do this. It is easy to recognize ourselves in this story. What is harder to understand is Jesus's attitude.
I just got to point out that, man, this man is well spoken in many ways. He's able to read scripts, read verses, and the way that he presents himself, the way he speaks, the nomenclature he uses. Man, this guy is a good public speaker for damn sure. He does a damn good job.
While his disciples are quite naturally alarmed and desperate, he is in the stern, in the part of the boat that sinks first. And what does he do? In spite of the tempest, he sleeps on soundly, trusting in the Father. This is the only time in the Gospels we see Jesus sleeping. When he wakes up, after calming the wind and the waters, he turns to the disciples in a reproaching voice. Why are you afraid? Have you no faith?
And he said he was winging it. Exactly.
Let us try to understand.
Yeah.
And what does the lack of the disciples' faith consist, as contrasted with Jesus' trust? They had not stopped believing in him. In fact, they called on him. But we see how they call on him. Teacher, do you not care if we perish? Do you not care, they think, that Jesus is not interested in them, does not
Yo, we got Tats over there in the UK. Good to see you. Hopefully you're doing well as well.
not care about
Good
them.
to see you always.
One of the things that hurts us and our families most when we hear said is, do you not care about me? It is a phrase that wounds and unleashes storms in our hearts. It would have shaken Jesus too, because he, more than anyone, cares about us. Indeed, once they have called on him, he saves his disciples from their discouragement. The storm exposes our vulnerability and uncovers those false and superfluous certainties around which we have constructed our daily schedules, our projects, our habits, and priorities. It shows us how we have allowed to become dull and feeble the very things that nourish.
Holy fuck, you guys are on fire today. Tats coming in, gifting a 5-banger out to all of you guys, man. Wow, Tats, thank you very much for that. Immensely. That helps out extremely. Thank you very much. This is how I'm able to continue to do this shit. So thank you guys, sincerely. It means a lot. Your support means a lot. All of you guys. Just being here too, obviously.
The tempest lays bare all our prepackaged ideas and forgetfulness of what nourishes our people's souls. all those attempts that anesthetize us with ways of thinking and acting that supposedly save us, but instead prove incapable of putting us in touch with our roots and keeping alive the memory of those who have gone before us. We deprive ourselves of the antibodies we need to confront adversity. And I think that is an amazing phrase. That what we do so often in our lives, in our public life, in our private lives, is we deprive ourselves of the antibodies we need.
Okay, then good. I'm glad that you are going live. I'll redirect to you. I'm glad that I don't have to redirect to some random fucking channel. Fantastic. Go live and I'll redirect to you, because right after he's done speaking here in a couple minutes, we're going to wrap this up and I'll send everyone to you.
We need to confront adversity. And that is how I will always remember the Holy Father, is as a great pastor, as a man who can speak the truth of the faith in a very profound way at a moment of great crisis. And so I would ask all of us, if you would join me in this prayer for Pope Francis. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Almighty and generous God, we thank you for your charity. Please grant your mercy upon Pope Francis so he may be restored from sickness and guide us in watchful care. We pray that you bless our Holy Father's doctors, nurses, and medical staff with wisdom.
Holy shit, I got to give a real quick thank you. So, listen, we got my man Doug coming in hot, and he's always so kind. He sends me like some pay. Like, there's only a few people that ever use PayPal with me, anyways, and he's one of them. And he sends. I don't know where the. Okay, there it is. So it's $13.29 on the PayPal, and he says, "Mike, it's been a bit. Nice to catch you. I've been real busy, brother." Well, I can't thank you enough for that and helping out the channel, man. Sincerely. I really, really appreciate that shit, man. So thank you for your selfless donation, kind sir. Yes, always appreciate that.
And capability, so that you may work through them to renew the health of your shepherd.
Ghost
through
Eagle.
Christ our Lord. Amen. And I think that as I conclude my remarks here, I'm not ever going to be perfect. I'm never ever going to get everything right. But what I will try to do is to try to be the kind of leader who helps our shared civilization build those true antibodies against adversity. And if the Holy Father can hear us, I hope he knows that there are thousands of faithful Catholics in this room and millions of faithful Catholics in this country.
Wow. Naomi just sent in a $10 super, by the way. Thank you very much. And she sends the salute. Yes, much respect. I very appreciate that. Thank you immensely for that. Man, you guys are off the fucking chain. Thank you. Man.
Praying for him
I'm honored.
as he weathers his particular storm. God bless you. Thank you.
I'm gonna pray.
All right, so there you have Vice President J.D. Vance as he does address the crowd there at the National Catholic Prayer Breakfast there at the end, performing a prayer for Pope Francis, who has now spent 15 days in the hospital there in Rome. The Vatican, though, saying that his condition does continue to improve.
Slightly better day by day is what they're reporting right now. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, I can't thank each and every single one of you guys enough, because listen, truly and honestly, you guys could have been anywhere else in the world, but you guys decided to be right here with me, man. And I'm very honored by that. I can't thank you enough for your just being here, watching, supporting, liking the video. Man, that helps out immensely to the channel, helps me and everybody here. Listen, and I can't thank each and every single one of you guys enough for also contributing monetarily. I can't, that's very selfless, and I'm very appreciative. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back tomorrow morning for the Breakfast Club members only live stream, 10 a.m. CST. Listen, if any of you guys got gifted memberships and you guys have not been in the whole Breakfast Club members only, we're quite a bit uncensored over there. We get to get down with our bad selves and say some shit that usually you can't when you're broadcasting to the world. So, ladies and gentlemen, I can't thank you enough. And there's Mr. Doug Ross right there. So he was the one that sent in the PayPal. I can't thank him enough for, the amount of love, man. It's an exchange that sucks. I joined the U.S. in a heartbeat. Like, really, we are brothers in arms. Should be a border way the fuck up north. Yes, sir. Hey, I can't thank you enough for your contribution today, man. So thank you. And thank you, by the way. And Butchkana, I saw your messages earlier. There's never an obligation, you know what I mean, to be here. I'm just honored that you guys enjoy the show and get something out of it. You know what I mean? That's ultimately what matters. So with that being said, everyone enjoy your weekend, man. Be safe out there, and God bless to everybody. We'll see you guys very soon.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire burning in his soul.
Yo, my man Doug, thank you, bro.
He rides on two wheels, ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow, he takes his stand, refusing to submit.